Oh, now we're early. Another Johnson? Oh, I'm just fine. Find a comfortable seat, make yourself comfortable and make yourself warm on your cushion. Now here we go, getting started as the time has come. They understand? Yeah.
Melon Lola Dida DJ Chena Dida Sam Ti Tamji Siva Goban Done Jinji Radu Gada Nada Shiva Labru Le Siva Sole
Page 3. To the founder, the endowed transcendent destroyer, the one gone beyond, the full destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Sugata, knower of the world, supreme guide of human beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and human beings, to you, the completely and fully awakened one, the endowed transcendent destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the Shakya clan, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. When the supreme among humans who were born on this earth, he paced out 7 strides, then said, I am supreme in this world. To you who are wise then I prostrate. With pure bodies, form supremely pure, wisdom ocean like a golden mountain, fame that blazes in the 3 worlds, winner of the vessel, to you I prostrate. With the supreme signs, face like the spotless moon, color like gold, to you I prostrate. Your immaculate 3 worlds are not, incomparably wise one, to you I prostrate. The Savior having great compassion, the Founder having all understanding, the field of merit with qualities like a vast ocean. To you, the one gone to dustness, I prostrate. The purity which makes one free from attachment, the virtue which frees one from the lower realms, the one path, the sublime pure reality, to that dharma which pacifies, I prostrate. Those who are liberated and who also show the path of liberation, the holy field qualified with realizations, who are devoted to the moral precepts, to you, the sublime community intending virtue, I prostrate. Do not commit any non-virtuous actions, perform only perfect virtuous actions, subdue your mind thoroughly. This is the teaching of the Buddha. A star, a mirage, flame of a lamp, an illusion, a drop of dew or a bubble, a dream, a flash of lightning, a cloud, see conditioned things as such. Through these merits may sentient being attain the rank of all beings, subdue the foe of faults, and be delivered from samsara's ocean, perturbed by waves of aging, sickness, and death.
Baba Gunjo Sola Ja, Dige Dagi Loga Dijina, Jamde De Gyabuka, Jago Bomo Rela Genoji, Gindu Shimbo Dan, Chanju Sembe Gindu Shimbo, Kawa Jidu Jude De, Jamde De, Kamon Chijawi Chigi Nangangi, Tingi Zela Nyobal Jutaya, Di Chanju Semba Semba Jemu. Baba Jenese Wanju Sheraje Paru Chimba Damo Chiba Nila number Tajin Kumbo Ngabo De Dalaya Rajigi Tombar number Tao Ene Saji Tu Sedan Demba Sheribu Janju Semba Semba Jimbo Baba Jenese Wanju Lati Giji Meso Rigi Alala Sheraje Paru Chimba Damo Chiba Chiba Duba Jidar Labar Cha Tige Meba Chanju Semba Semba Baba Jereze Wanju Ji Sedan Demba Shari Dande Bular Dige Jemeso Shari Bu Rigi Hon Rigi Hon Alala Sheraje Barudu Chemba Sama Cheba Cheba Deba De Dida Namba Tawar Chade Kumbo Ngabo De Dalayang Rashi Je Tomba Namba Yandaba Jesu Tao Zu Tomba Tomba Ni Susu Zule Tomba Ni Shemayi Tomba Ni Legyan Su Shemayi No De Shindu Chua Dan De Shedan De Shedan Namba Sheba Namba Sharibo de da chetam je tomba ni de tsini me ba ma je ba ma ga ba tima me ba tima da chewa me ba kawa me ba o sharibo de da we na tomba ni la su me sowa me du shi me namba sheba me na wa me na me che me lu me yi me su me ra me chi me ro me re cha me che me do mi je ka me ba ne yi je ka me yi je namba shebe ka je Bado yam medo me mariba seba me gaji sebe bado yam medo
Page 11. Thus I have heard, once the Blessed One was dwelling in Rajgriha, Vulture's Peak, together with the great assembly of monks and bodhisattvas. At that time, the Blessed One was totally absorbed in the concentration that examines all phenomena, called profound illumination. And at the same time, the noble Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, was engaged in the profound practice of wisdom gone beyond, analyzing the five aggregates by nature empty. Then, through the inspiration of the Buddha, the Venerable Shariputra spoke to the noble Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, saying, how did those of good family learn who wish to follow the profound practice of the wisdom gone beyond? Thus he spoke, and the noble Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, replied to the Venerable Shariputra, O Shariputra, whatever son or daughter of good family wishes to follow the profound practice of the wisdom gone beyond, should look at it like this, analyzing the five aggregates by nature empty. Form is empty, emptiness is form, emptiness is no other than form, form is no other than emptiness. In the same way, feeling, recognition, karmic formation, and consciousness are all empty. Therefore, Shariputra, all phenomena are empty without characteristics. They are unborn and unceasing. They are neither impure nor free from impurity. They neither decrease nor increase. Therefore, Shariputra, in emptiness there is no form, no feeling, no recognition, no karmic formation, no consciousness. There is no body, no tongue, no body, no mind. There are no spheres of the eyes up to no spheres of the mind. There are none of these, all the way up to the sphere of mental consciousness. There is no ignorance, nor is there destruction of ignorance. There are none of these, all the way up to there is no old age and death, nor is there destruction of old age and death. Thus there is no suffering, no cause of suffering, no cessation of suffering, and no path. There is no wisdom, no attainment, no non-attainment. Therefore, Shariputra, because there is no attainment, all bodhisattvas, both to the wisdom gone beyond, and because there is no obscurity of mind, they have no fear. Passing utterly beyond falsity, they reach beyond the bounds of sorrow. All the Buddhas who dwell in the three times, by relying on the wisdom gone beyond, fully and clearly awaken to unsurpassed, most perfect and complete enlightenment. Therefore, the mantra of the wisdom gone beyond, the mantra of great insight, the unequaled and unsurpassed mantra, the mantra that calms all suffering should be known as the truth, for there is no deception. The mantra of the wisdom gone beyond is proclaimed Tayada. Oh, Shariputra, this is how a Bodhisattva Mahasattva should learn the profound wisdom gone beyond. Then the Blessed One arose from that concentration and praised the noble Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, saying, very good, O son of good family. It is exactly like that. The profound wisdom gone beyond should be practiced exactly as you have said. And then the Tathagatas will rejoice. When the Blessed One had said this, the Venerable Shariputra, the noble Avalokiteshvara, that whole gathering in the world with its gods, men, spirits, their hearts full of joy, praise the words of the Blessed One. So ends the noble discourse on the essence of the wisdom gone beyond.
Patri Sani Mas, we were links in a Sanju Lambi, the Bas, Sanju Lambi, the Bas, and then Sanju City to do with that, we are hard to be. The what said. All that hill of Lambi, the Bas, all the kilometers of Kilomas, don't check it, don't send it there. Yes.
Now we resume our Sunday instruction in the Great Treatise on the Stages of the Path to Enlightenment. The text is the Great Treatise on Stages of the Path to Enlightenment. The ultimate accomplishment and end is awakening, enlightenment, and the path toward this has stages, and in these stages we train, and so this is the concern of the text.
Oh, that and then data over that. There were Tartuba. That the all at the Oman, we are in the way none is short of you, but that the Tartuba. Harrison, couldn't be the Chanju cigarette, and a god then cigarette, young day cigarette that call a Mima, we are rest. Under that, there was Siniba, the Tovia tub, the Lavia de la Tat, so over rest. That lover Chevala, that Karikover and Tomato Tibi, Tujungi Sherab. Tujungi Sherab Mena, some Jungi Sherab Kia Yomar. That's some Jungi Sherab Mena and a Gomjungi Sherab Yomar, the Mena and Lam Toba Julikas and the Yumarwas. Jazanta the Indu Kadamadu. There were Tartu, they motor, they Tovia love with Lamla, and Bala over Sevala, Toma Pevish, Tujungi Sherab Keku, we were Indu, and Tanamadu, the Lobzen Karsanta, Tujungi Sherab. So around Nishi and Jiggy, Nishi Sheraton, but Tujungi Sherab, Chera, Chenmo Chade or Resons.
The ultimate accomplishment is lasting contentment. There are many forms of contentment, many forms of satisfaction, but best of all, supreme among these is the contentment that is known as awakening, nirvana, nirodha. There are many names for it, but what it describes, the names describe, is a qualified, well-defined contentment that the training in the great stages of the path to enlightenment leads us toward. And the trainings and stages of the path to enlightenment entail specifically practices for the arising and development of the wisdom that comes from listening. Without this wisdom that first comes from listening, there's no wisdom to follow, which would come from contemplation. And where there's no wisdom of contemplation, there can be no wisdom of meditation. And it's wisdom of meditation that leads to realization. And so this training is concerned with first developing in us the wisdom that arises from listening. And so the exposition of the Dharma and listening to an exposition of the Dharma is concerned with just this, producing the wisdom arising from listening.
Oh, the Sazanta, Tujungi Sherab, the Kevala, Tubi Sherab Kevala, Komodami Chu Yango Manimas, Tujungi Sherab Kesa Yomar Sedan, Chu Tuya, Tuzudi Tamu Kechishure. That two Tani young, any finger was a damn pingy mother. Tubi turned it Majeva Chini, Surziga, some Jungi Sherab. Some Jungi Sherab Tigi, Tubi Shesh, Tubi turned it, Majeva Yan Yan Ila Chabati, some Jung. Oh, yeah, that about the Sunday, 20 Rangi Gula to Johnny, Toba Gula gave a child of Jung. Well, you want to you make it on all that the Remidu Sunday. You want to have the Sido Jung. Oh, yeah, Kondo soon Giamdo Laga Chevajina. And then Suzuki, that Toba Gula Kia, the Deva Top Sagita, Langato Chadan Summer, Chai Resmus.
In order to produce the wisdom that arises from listening, one must first attend through listening to the lesson, to the exposition of the Dharma. So of first importance is sitting to listen in the first place, and that makes the time in which we do just this a very constructive moment, the time of listening to an exposition of the Dharma. And then once one has heard and drawn a meaning from what one has heard, in order not to forget it, one turns it over and contemplates it. And that contemplation, that recollection, is a consolidation of the memory of the lesson, the meaning of what one has heard. And then to apply that meaning to one's own experience, to find whether experience conforms to this suggested meaning. And when finding that it does, that is habituation, that is meditation. And when these three proceed together, listening and contemplation and the habituation of meditation, then in the mind realization arises and contentment is known. And in this way, all the facets of the path to enlightenment are present in these three.
that regi töba sambata goba sumbu di ane rangi dewa tobe gyula drama do singedi ane thoma kulung tila rale res kulung thone ane samutanda na kulung thone ane ko dewa tobe gyula drawa de so res tene drawa chebala thoma kulung di kare kosan kulung di sedigi rangi sedigi digi sedigi evelo tundala samutanga yina ane ko chhe chag mares 세대기 전달을 주고 삼나타는 최제가 있는 이 최 말에서 아까는 반야지서 또는 가리고서 세침을 펜버 보고다 세침을 하는 다 세침을 될 펜버 될라야 세펜만 신경성을 맞게와 지고 삼나타는 아니 기부 중국 최차도 그래서 아니 세침을 코를 맞게와 지고 삼나타는 최제가 있는 기부 등기 최차도 그래서 다 세침을 뒤에 랑이 되어 갑자기 된도 많이 봐 신이 되어 토베 된도 심지 탐지 대화를 거고 동네의 대화 되게 탑을 치는 조냐면 제가 얘는 뒤버 친구가 취했어. 어제 뒤버 기부 충모도 친모도 링의 친구 세디 아니 꿀물한 거 도안에 제발 그거 해서
That these three, listening, contemplation, and meditation, do indeed become cause for supreme contentment and awakening depends upon, in the first, one's intention, one's motivation. So whether they do become cause or not depends upon just this, the meditation. The meditation that, or rather the intention that is concerned entirely with pleasure and profit in this life is not dharmic. So it isn't that intention. So clarify that, clear that up. But concern for subsequent lives, when there is concern, and this motivates the practice, then this intention conforms with the Dharma, and it may be a mere interest in avoiding rebirth in lower realms. And if it is just this, then it is the Dharma of the small scope. If it is concerned with, if the intention is to annul cyclic existence generally, it is the Dharma of the middle scope. Now, if instead of being self-interested entirely, one turns to the well-being of all sentient life and wishes and intends to set out to ensure that they experience lasting contentment, this is the Mahayana Dharma, the great scope. There are these three scopes, these three vehicles, and they depend upon the intention of the practitioner.
다 근데 이제 당당함도 가르치고 아들 라비아가 최대 장주 남이 전부 센 이번 친구 추억은 나네 아니 탑지 자, 소 로버 되니 최차되어 제가 이제 최대 뒤받침 최레스 다 최대 뒤받침 최 있는 디기어스는 디기어 말해서 최 진행 강사디 뒤받침 최로 뒤받침 최 제바지 고비어레스 강사 뒤받침 최도 제가 있는 뒤받침 최 차가 여러 근데 이거 강사 뒤받침 최로 제바 차발라 꿀lungu 토네 아니 라면 되니 삼바가 왕도 마셔봐 현대 되니 삼백이 왕도 제네 아니 대단로는데 라면을 넣어버려 일로버이나 아니 뒤받침 최로 넣어봤으니 새 자기 열에서
The great treatise on the stages of the path to enlightenment is a Mahayana text. Of Mahayana texts, of the Mahayana dharmas, it is a Mahayana text concerned principally with the method aspect for the person who is interested in pursuing the method aspect. But for the text alone, for the Dharma alone to be the Mahayana Dharma does not ensure that the event is the Mahayana Dharma event, for that depends upon the individual, the Mahayanist. A Mahayanist must encounter the Mahayana Dharma, and a Mahayanist comes from their intention, the Mahayana intention, that is not lost to so totally self-interested, but is instead an attitude and intention immersed in the well-being of sentient life generally. And an individual who trains in this way is a Mahayanist and ensures that their encounter with the Mahayana Dharma is the Mahayana event.
이미야다 근데 이도 꿀롱아도 꿀롱 가르쳐 버려서나다 당게 들은 최니시 제바디 아니 즉 당게 세디다 당게 체도로 대화 토백의 체도 되게 삼로 마다 아니 랑기다 타예베 sem제 탐지 랑다 대화 되어 동네 미되어 직발에 제가 이중에 sem제 탐지 대화 토백 체도 아니 다 대화 토백 대화로 거 지기 대지도 탑 아니 자주 남겨지 말아 럽이 삼박에 다 꿀롱들이 거네 아니 예고를 해서
Then the intention is the intention that animates the exposition and the listening to the Mahayana Dharma. It is the intention not to be self-interested, but to be concerned with the well-being of sentient life that is innumerable. Innumerable sentient beings wish for contentment and wish to avoid dissatisfaction, and each of us is the same as every other. And so the commitment to establishing those others, one and all, in lasting contentment, and to that end, to engage in the method aspect for that, which is pursued through training in the great treatise on the stages of the path to enlightenment. This is the commitment of mind to develop now as we listen to the exposition.
제가 땅아랑도 배심제 라운다 신심제 탐지기 동이 점벌 쳐봐 동이 시벌 쳐봐디 아니 사물 남들이 뭐 동반이라 라면 시벌 쳐버 되게 사물 동반이들 사부 야 전부 용화 쳐봐디 아니 남지를 말라 라면 탑이 잘 라면 아니 그 사부 소거라 제가 이리 탑다 셔럽 이가 매롱 이거 지금 개쳐들 여러 손
Two aspects, two approaches to the Mahayana Dharma are required, and they are the profound view and extensive practices. These are the two general categories of training. Now, in order for the discontents and pains of each ourselves and all others to be finally annihilated entirely, one might fathom the profound view of emptiness. Fathoming the profound view of emptiness pacifies all that is disquieting, and this is the profound view. But in order to access the profound view, to fathom it, one must undertake the method aspect, for it makes for access to the profound. And these two then are essential together.
이래서 마땅한 박을라비야게 아니 즉 다쳐기 주부 지리시동 강가로 빼방진에 라부고이나 말한서 다직 박에 미세기 미기 책에 당야요 말세다 로병도 지리다 뮤르고 아니 그때 뒤뒤뒤는 라투야요 봐 아니 라바 대양 배랑이 줄에 제투야요 된대기 탑라나메 고고요 대치도라 아니 단단하도 뭐 셰대야게 아니다 람림기 나네 저외 출두가 나네 아니 소신 세다바서 계산하도 sabje 시바 소신 세다바스게디 아니 저 따나도 또뭐 줄묘도 깨고 탑라나메 바데레 이리 아니 sabje 소신 세다바데 딜마데 시작이 와래 손으로서
In the Buddha Dharma of 84,000 heaps, there is no time to follow each and every one of these Dharma heaps. And so in the study of the Buddha Dharma, so that one may swiftly, in the short time available to them, develop realization, in fact, one applies the method. And the method is here in the great treatise on the stages of the path to enlightenment, conveyed through these preliminary practices, 6 preliminary practices. And we find ourselves now at the merit field, the 4th section, the 4th of these 6 preliminary practices. Reliance upon the merit field is for the purpose of swiftly developing realization of all methods, all means for the development of realization, it is supreme among them.
Oi, 근데 이제 뭐 딱 같은 거 소신 셋답, 딱 소신 셋답에 약간 누가 차버렸어. 딱 소신 셋답 차네, 딱 소신 셋답에 뒤저 가르스는 담직 셈바 깨고요. 담직 셈바 딱 깨차는 거 그거 잘라는 등이 나가라. 담직 셈바가 깨차래. 딱 깨차네 아니 딜러야. 딱 이시 셈바데 맞대 젠제 쉬니 아니 담직 셈바데라 마 앞보다 마 띵거와 어디기 상담들을 내대요. 해서 놓으시는
In the merit field now, we have described the visualized arrangement of the field. This is an arrangement of the commitment beings. The commitment beings are situated in space before oneself. And then with the commitment beings so situated, the wisdom beings are invited to descend and integrate into the commitment being.
Oh, yeah, that is that sourcing. 그 전제 쉬마주 세대도 저버치 마시기 계자 말했어. 집에는 아주 지수 전다 쇼다 망보지 계지 세대도 아니 즉 수족배 자리 제배 망보치 거야. 근데 계자 말해. 어디 계자 말. 다도는 가래서는 타고 간다. 여기 매바체바 있나요? 그 대준도 소신도 주고 열어서 소신이 또 매바 마시는 내주 가가를 매바 채잖아. 아니 뒤변 그런 수이 매바 채바 있는 뒤준을 전부 열어서 전부를 슈그레스 배낭 아주 나갈라 다와샤려는데 아니 추 상마 가와이나 코나라 다외숭이 샤기로 와 다외숭이 샤기로 되나 신전에 거기 추 간다 추여서 대 추대 당만 가와이나 딜라 다외숭이 샤기레스 세버 샤기로 어디나 신 수수 매바이나 아니 소신은 강가대랑 된 백일에 슈그레스 아니 수수 매바 슈체보이나 아니 세버제니 슈그레 어디 잡아래서 뭐지
In the petitioning of the merit field, which involves the invitation of the wisdom beings, invitation in the sense of a guest coming, staying, what preparations their arrival entails. This itself is not really what we are talking about. Whoever vivifies through imagination the merit field, there the merit field will appear before them. And then there will be the invitation and arrival and the staying of the wisdom beings there. Just as wherever water is in any vessel, and it isn't turbid, it isn't murky, then when the moon rises in the night sky, the reflection of the moon is present in the water in any vessel everywhere, so long as it isn't turbid. And so it is where there is the vivification through imagination of the commitment beings there, then the wisdom beings are invited.
Oh, yeah, that's correct. You got it. That English. Hojinon, doing you ever ina? And that Samlona, Namdo, Chod Kaligrisna. You know, Tungumido Asam, that's similar to what Ligros. Maton at Caresta, Toyamido Asanasta. Any that Rang Maton, Madosi, Mevati, Lutumares. Penamato, Susu, Big Tiller, you big to change order. Any chick dog, Madu Penata, the Peja Corona, Pek Harisha, on the Chumi user, Chumi user, Lutan, Saint, the Mamma Negri. Inaya Mazu, Ned, Yobati, Suzuki, Mashimachi, and Dilla Chumi, or Zoba, Shonajimako, nobody, how would she know you have what the layer was? What a nice Chumi.
Oh, Chumi,
Chumi Tilla, Lutan, Saint.
Let's
Oh, could you do some Yobati on the Tungumare? Jela, not the Chumi to the water shores and nobody on the additional out that and to Lagurva. Or didn't she rang in Maton or Maton never to Mares?
너 너네 루덴소 안에 그래 치팅이 틸라 여버디 간데스 통그래
당고도 통고 말와 제일 한게 콜로 추드도 통고도 쇼 아니 너버도 계시나 코 바줄 너버게 왜도 코즈 너버게 왜 그러와 그리스만 카 바데 루도 라스트라 그러와 제가 어디나 시당 하나도 간다 소신 대양 수수고 너버체는 예버다 너버 맞으나 권이 돼서 가가 와서 어때서
in the visualization of the merit field before one, a natural question may well follow for those who are who have discursive thought that will lead them to such questions. And the question is, I don't see this, I don't see it actually. Why is it unseen now? If it's there, why is it that it's unseen? It doesn't follow that it is absent. It doesn't follow from being unseen that it is absent. Just as atoms are unseen by the naked eye, that is no proof of their absence. Now, there's another example found in the scriptural tradition. Near springs, natural springs, there are naga and other spirits. They aren't apparent to us. But when we destroy the environment there, and the water, the spring becomes dirty, then we suffer consequences and discover that there are naga and spirits there.
Oh, yeah, that's another Karishigos, that's some look at them, so she rangi dula. You may dushi, you may rally, so years and dushi, I was and so she didn't your and so she was so what of a natural chilap buddhist. 안티나시 지라 슈바 나랑게 소신이 된다로 차세 쳐버비 근데 제가 이나 소놈 야침부 사토를 했어 제가 그들이 소놈 사토보다 지라 주고 유메디 안 소신을 한 몇바다 비시하고 유메는 달래버 해서
The merit field then is before us, and whether or not it is apparently before us or not depends upon the idea, the vivifying idea, the conception of the merit field present or not. Now, when it is conceived as present, actually, then through petitioning the merit field, one actually experiences a conferral of blessings. And then one may prostrate, pay homage, make offerings to the merit field and experience tremendous benefits in merit and autonomy flowing from that. The blessing may take purchase in the person in this way.
Oh, yeah, that's it. You do that, you say, and then that Karichigo is not that Dundu Shube, Javu to the oh, you know, man, as a Toba Sate. And you know, the Suzu Toba Yubata. And it's like a Yimachiva, the Yuba Yina, the dig Chitula, and it's that most change and done. That change by change on the Yeshiva to change on what they Chigores, so the Yeshiva change time. 아니 제 다이디 규제 가르스나 랑게 매바 템보 매바 템보 용야가 치도 직체 다 되네 셈나 남도이나 남도도 봐세야 된다라 아니 이시바 제 장고야 규제들 해소하시
What follows then is that a merit field is before one, and a person may be the sort of person who has doubts about whether it is actually there or not, and the doubts will follow naturally from faith and conviction being absent. And so this situation may occur. In such a situation, the invitation of the wisdom being may be used as a means to reinforce the conception of the idea of the merit field before one. This is the purpose, the reason for inviting the wisdom being, so that for those who do not have a stable conception of the wisdom, a stable conception of the merit field, it may make it more stable. Or for those who have discursive thought that leads to doubt, that it may alleviate some of that doubt. With this purpose in mind, one invites the wisdom being.
Oh, 대만도 인지미지 양전전 맞으나 문제보다 진짜 인도를 never check 거 같은데 그래서 이제 말했어. 어디래? 다 진짜 제야 되네. 다 하나도 조조 그런 식식을 제가 있나? 근데 그 조조는 다 말을 쓴지 본조지. 이 문제 메시지 좀 전하. 뭐는 말을 양가 기준으로 좀된 거지 내리 시에서 식식이 좀 요래서
So it isn't the case that if you do not invite the wisdom being, then the petitioning of the merit field is performed improperly. That's not the case. It's okay not to invite the wisdom being. The purpose of the wisdom invitation, the purpose of inviting the wisdom being has been described. Now here are these verses for the invitation of the wisdom being. Savior of all beings without exception, divine conqueror of the terrible demon host, who knows all entities truly and completely, O Bhagavan, please approach together with your retinue.
예, 딱 간단히 식시를 얘기하면 딱 간단히 리스월 소신라 아니 소신 대달하니 뒤에 켐바다 저와다 뉴베에 숨나베게 아니 소시베다 소신도 슈베 탐제 아니 드린 얘기다 소사야 소사베 되도 아니 고연도 패로치에서 어디 젠탕이 열에서
Now, I won't go into a detailed explanation of each of these 4 lines. What occurs in the invitation of wisdom beings into the merit field is that their qualities of love and power and wisdom come to abide in every person of the merit field. And this is for the purpose of the meditators accumulating the collections.
예, 그래서 계산하도 꼴시들 쳔바다 자와다 뉴버스부터 그 뒤에 냠도 용어만도 콘수 쳔바 유지 자와 메서들의 요마 산지 친진 뉴스부터 쳔바 거여서 자와요서 아니 뉴버 투도 요서 고순 투 거기 냠도 요 제가 드리이 담다 고치엔트나 투제 강한 냠도 폐결만 직배 직마로 드리 직마로서 친진 뉴스 자산 아니 쳔바들의 레스 쳔바들의 젠텐도 좀 순간냠도 요가 젠창오레스 아니 대한 젠텐도 담아 찍디 아니 무규콘 찍 도마한테 중앙에서나 아니 다좀 된데 시에슈도 이유나 개보마 개보 들어가서 쳔다 고면서 젠사 좀 되게 쇼사가 못 되겠다 개보로지나 너무 이제 개보를 받아 고랑이 고모처럼 고모들이 아니 좀 되게 된전도 아니 찍디 yor ani pe par ani chomde de shugiyores olugi de jores on mo magada samos
With the wisdom being comes naturally, simultaneously, altogether, wisdom, love, and power that are the qualities of the Buddha. They are the qualities of the Buddha's body, speech, and mind. Where wisdom is present, the love of the Buddha pervades. Where the love and wisdom of the Buddha pervade, so too does the power of the Buddha. So these 3 together always come with the wisdom being, altogether, body, speech, and mind, wisdom, love, and power, never one alone apart from the rest. So the invitation is made then, and these 3 are present and come at once together. Now there's a story about the first utterance of this 4-line invocation, and it was uttered by the daughter, the princess of the lay householder King Goman. The young woman's name is Magadaphaji. She invited the Buddha, uttering this invocation and lighting a stick of incense.
예, 진짜 보면 망가다 담아쓰기 루규를 때는 아니 좀 되는데 자 다들 좀 되는데 대한 쳔바 뺄라 쳔안 소신 대한 다양 시기 요래스 근데 이제도 보다 빼디 간데 요래스나 보면 망가다 담아쓰게 되니 예부 수진이 목이 가르쳤으나 이거 수진이 무슨 게 있다 좀 되게 제주도 니유고 지 사제들과 되네 고랑게 가르치는 무디 제부지 보기 남아라 땅하라서 무디 보 남아디 아니 로조 자갈 로조 레거시스 사제들 레거시스 다가데 보람식 베스 보람식 망고 대사기 로바 소조 안에 창조의 말로는 다니 순 조사기 되게 사제기 유 제부지 아니 보기 남아라 땅이 제가 어쩌다 아니 고라마게 남아라 땅 아니 남아라 땅도 잡아마게 고라도 취해 무디고 취해인데 아니 고라도 뭐게 따와 맞춘 거차 굉장히 깨게 아니 고라도 깨져마고 쉐레 중에 뒤에서 많이 고라도야 깨져마고 쉐레 마고 땅이 땅아도 빼다가 데려왔다 막에 치료자 많이 고라도보다 어묵 망가다 사먹겠다 진주 취해다 아주 취해다 그미도 진주 땜바다 아주 땜바다 그미도 진주 기두다 아주 기두다 그미도 아그 데레 랍디고 데레 랍디자 많이 유 미주고다 이 진주 땜바 가르쳐야 데디시도 에디션은 디그리에서 디그리 데디시도 그래서 슈도 그래서 데디지는 데디시를 누기 알 데디셔에서
The story of Magadha Bhadri is a story that is basis for this custom of reciting this very verse in invocation of the wisdom beings. It is Magadha Bhadri's verse of invocation that she uttered when inviting the Buddha. And this happened as she was in Shravasti, and her father arranged a marriage with a non-Buddhist prince in the south of India, and they were living in the north of India. And this land in the south of India was the land of brown sugar, and it was 2-3 months of travel time away from south of where they were in northern India. She went down to southern India for the arranged marriage there, and found herself surrounded by people with a different view, with devotion to different teachers, with a different dharma there, and she found it was uncomfortably different. She told those around her that she felt that the dharma here, the teachers here, the community of the sangha there, were all quite different. And they replied, "What does your teacher look like? Or what sort of teaching does he give? Might you well invite him? Why don't you invite him?" She said, I could well invite him, and I will.
이따 간다도 엄마 야가기 줄로 저단도 리슈도단도 아니 계보기 부모도 부들도 야 계보 그런 나로를 봐서 렉tum바 제 봐서 지금 이제 제법만도 양지 계보고 보고도 참석인도 참석하고 리스 콘서트들 루스도 요 말해서 참석이는 참석 렉tum바 참석하고 말이는 그 렉수수도 tum바지는 아니 데리스는 그런 유 공식들이 요레스 어떤들 때네 아니 무디 계보 무디 지부 바생인데 그런걸 보고 남아됐다 다한테 길이 튜버 보고 이래 아니 길이 튜버도 유유라 나 진다 그 메시지 보고도 보모도 요다 대체는 걸 남아놓도 자만에 진다 그 메시지 생인데 아니 그런 좀 된데기 슈서를 버티나래 그런 게 내가 가니 제발 있나요 아니 좀 된데 슈고요 좀 된데 대체는 되게 말해 근데 슈고요 바인자는 그런 게 담아 보면 남아놓도 아니 게 보모도 때 남아째고도 되게 왜스 좀 되들 간이 쉬는 좀 되게 대체는 되게 야고요 팬도 너무벌 아니 도알 팬바요 뭐 산지 담벌 때 빼야 팬도 전부 요거 되는데 아니 좀 되게 까나 안 되지는 거나 보면 남아 땅 쓰려 거라마가 남아 대디되는 그런 게 있다 거기 롱백이 공시다 아니 그런 공시들 직접 매바체 따 가가 차려서 말은 그런 게 있다 미지점도 깨져 마셔가지고 고등점 되고 고등 때는 미주는 거 미주 거면 보면 고등만 하려고 고등만 명대에 따셔로 된대지 않아 그런 대디지 않아 그런 게 있다 마때 뭐그 간다 저기면도 따라가면도 잡지 아니 제가 고등이 지나가 아니 계란 그 뼈밭에 디슈야 조선 때 디슈는 디슈 두고 유명하다 근데 디슈 두고 유나 아니 걔도 고등 배 되게 잘 지어야 돼 뭐라 그런 거 캘렌지 어때 좋아를 해서
the custom in India was to arrange marriages between like caste, and the king caste would arrange marriages within that same caste. The Brahmin caste within their same caste, the Shudra caste within their same caste. This was the custom. And so the same happened here, and the arranged marriage was designed between the king, lay householder Goman, who was devoted to the Buddha Shakyamuni in the north of India. It was arranged with like class prince in the south of India. And as this lay householder Goman, king in north of India, was devoted to the Buddha Shakyamuni, he would always consult with the Buddha Shakyamuni before any decisions, and so conferred with the Buddha, asking permission to arrange a marriage with a prince in the south of India, and asked the Buddha, is it okay that I arrange a marriage in this way? And the Buddha replied, yes, it certainly is. It will be beneficial. In fact, it will benefit sentient beings, this arranged marriage, and the lastingness of the teachings of the Buddha Dharma. It will be beneficial. And so the Buddha Shakyamuni gave permission for this arranged marriage. And as Magadha Badri found herself in South India, she found herself in a land with very different customs and views. She noticed that the views, the teachings there were very different. And as it caused her some discomfort, she veiled her face for the privacy, and this earned her a new name, which was the woman with the veiled face. But as she spoke with those around her and described the difference in view and the Dharma between where she was from and the teachings she was familiar with and what she found herself learning here in South India, those around her said, you may invite your teacher here. Why don't you invite your teacher here? And they gave her permission to invite him to South India. And then they too promised to prepare for his arrival.
예, 세상 근데 이제는 권한 게 다, 오늘 지나다 맞아 유도 저에는 규모도에는 사다른 거지. 뒤도 뭐 거기로 와서 권한 게 아니 좀 뭐지 난 계란도 자리하고 제도당에 된지 유튜브를 해서 건조 자리 차단체 아니 무디 뭐 권한 게다 제비 보라는 보란 첨부시라요. 아니 보란대로 초실로 고시요 같은데 첨부요. 권한도 자리 차단체 아니 자리 차단체들은 권한 강보 타고래지. 아니 그지 봐. 아니 그게 반다 인식이 된 거다. 말씀 이제 공지 비디오 콘텐츠에서 뭐 식시도 되지 아니 덤바도 되게 쉬우요레스. 제산타 덤바 되게 쉬우도 맞지 아니 덤바기다. 다 드림 처리식이 여바 있나? 아니 좀 되게 드림들다 공고 좀 되게 소변을 봐. 아니 공고라 아니 산이 먼저 부모 망가다 사모게 아니 거기 로조라다 되게 쉬우요레스 되게 쉬우요바 이도 아니 다좀 봐. 주주인이 차상 아니 산이 있다. 거기에 늘 배워버렸다. 너무 망가다다 보고 쓰더라. 배워버려. 제가 강가 주주인이 강가 소신len시 강가 신이 아주 돼서 등산에 망가지지도 왜 드시기로 와. 뭐만 있는 것도 들이 저 결론도 있나? 아니 내가 드시리나 뭐 매바 유매체에 소신len 신신해요. 신들len서는 매도 유에서 와서 소신len 줬어. 아주 망가져서 소신 그 소신len 아주 뭐 주주의제 강가 아니 나가로도 왜 나가로 자딩가 나지 편히 자산도 아니 뭐 뭔가를 상호자로 패버려 해서
Now, preparations for the arrival of a guest ordinarily take time, and so the non-Buddhist heretics in the south of India who agreed to the Buddha visiting agreed to make preparations for his arrival, and so Magadha Badri agreed to make the invitation, and the people in South India had a grand palace with 4 doors in the 4 directions, and they prepared the grand palace for the arrival of a guest, and then she went to the topmost story there, and lit this stick of incense and recited the verse, Savior of all beings without exception, divine conqueror of the terrible demon host, who knows all entities truly and completely, O Bhagavan, please approach together with your retinue. This was the verse of invocation and invitation. And in the north of India, then Buddha Shakyamuni's attendant Ananda was informed and aware then of the invitation made in the south of India. And preparations were made to be in attendance. And the way in which decisions were made among the arhats, 500 arhats in the past, the bhikshus would for voting, rather for unanimous consent to a plan, they would indicate their consent by taking the toothpick up, and so 500 were distributed among the 500 arhats, and they consented each by taking up their toothpick, and then those who had the power for flight and that magical talent, they rose into the sky and traveled by wing to the south of India.
Oh yeah, that did that doesn't but so any pages about Kalis Pevers, nada. Hambo de any doesn't but that Mambo Yuban, Tambo de Jumdi, Koshiko deny as you are. Corona Tambo Tom Juliting you are. Oh, Koran Tambo Pera, Koran Tambo, Koran Kalis person to do to be on the Shinda Kolo Yoro, Shinda Kolo Nana shoe, and then the Shinda Kolo Yoro, thing, and methods of parliament to see wall of it, timber wall of child of color to watch it, to do tangent. And then forget that. Omagata Samuel said, put on the pail, and pay to the money. Forget the image of tradition image of oh, that almost Magata Samuel Chang, timber persons. Or see what I call Magata Samuel did, timber mare, timber cor. 아니 좀 마상게 좀 되게 당고 취지 콜로 취지 콜로 통만 콜사게 뒤자 아니 고시고 디나이스인데 레스 당고도 거나 페레스 온스
고시가 되는데 신디
고시가 되네 아무 콜마디는 당고 좋아 어디래 나 거나 가르치는 페레스나 페 당고 페고 가르치는 거나 좀 되게 통만 취지 콜로 콜에 통만 취지 콜로 콜세지로 와 어디지 때문에 있네 좀 고시가 되는 페레스 뭐
No. Now, how did they soar then to South India? In their lead was Kaudinya, among the first 5 disciples of the Buddha. He was the first to achieve the path of seeing. And so he proceeded first, and he traveled atop a chariot wheel that turned and emitted flames that turned the clouds to steam, and traveled in this way to South India, and arrived first at Magadha Badri's palace there, and all who had been involved in the palace in preparation for receiving Magadha Badri's teacher assumed that here was Magadha Badri's teacher, and said to her, then your teacher has arrived. And she said, no, this isn't my teacher. This is one among his retinue. This is Kaudinya, and he came first. And the reason he came first was that he was first in the turning of the wheel of Dharma by the Buddha. He was the first to achieve the path of seeing.
Oh, yeah, then you but the Ninduchibu, some parents, some they dig for the Nanda, but Yamlegi saw the Juba. Do other than the total Yamlegi saw the Jubani. Ninduchibu, something that's how all Koran parents. No Koran carries the person, no Koran the Trubadi, and Pesade Bear, not to bed. Chad, and the wishing not the meadow that they give up a Jesse to the Chenmo, the original Tamsig chip, and to do the pair and not to pay on rest.
Elegantis? Yang gerçi sundan de kongi
Can you mean the translation?
det har.
고랑 필요도 뭐 주주들이 배야지 요와
لا
아니 숙사들이 신금들이 요와
لا
신금들이 요와 다시 집에 자다 신나다 나세 매도들이 친구 자친구 옆에 쉬우 신금 요들이 나가니 잠식이 체배네 아니 나가도 큰 배워 해서
that's Next following Kaudinya was Kashyapa of great qualities among practitioners there with the Buddha supreme among them, and he traveled in a vehicle that was like a float, complete with forest and flower. It was a float that traveled through space, and he followed. That is Mahakashyapa.
예, 전에야 거기 에디션을 주고 딱 무디 봐서 아니 저랑 좀 패소스. 얘는 마 어머고 뒤에 좀 말해. 매 때문에 아니 배 냠랭이 쳐도 주고 니도 좀 무슨 레스는 어디를 손레스.
And when this Kashyapa, Mahakashyapa arrived, the Tirthikas, the non-Buddhists in the palace, assumed he arrived the Magadabhadri's teacher, but she informed them again, no, this is not my teacher. This is the Shravaka Mahakashyapa, supreme among meditators, but not my teacher.
일단 이제는 셔리프 배 셔리프는 생기 트리 되는 것도 다 스포는 아마도 그때 소신이 시티도 어디 생기 트리 되는 슈 아니 매 주주의 제는 패도스 패에서는 패도스 봐야 다 이나지 뭔가 저랑 좀 앞에서 여기에 좀 말해 이좀 되게 얘도가 아니 셔리프 줘도 주봐 셔리프를 해서 그래서 말해서
And next followed Shariputra, and Shariputra was conveyed atop a lion throne, and this was his magical flight, the vehicle of his magical flight, the lion throne, just as there's a lion throne in the merit field. And Shariputra arrived, and again the Tirthikas informed Magadabhadri, your teacher has arrived. And again she replied, no, this is not my teacher, but this is supreme among those with wisdom, Shariputra.
that nema tama 좀 바꾸랑 좀 코드 잡아서 좀 코드 잡아서 아니 나가라 배다 찌기 되는 주시네 아니 예니라 창바 다 자신을 소바대도 못도 세네 아니 예네 추가 필요봐 아니 공가고 지내도 아니 마요 유대봐 아니 되베 나다 솔라 소바대 배 망고 냠도 배 찌기다는 수네 아니 배 아니 배도 박은 다 고난도 트레디치스하게 보다는 배도 아니 좀 되게 간데스 페버스나 좀 되게 주주고 또 이제 초 시간에 또 실을 고시여로 시작할 때도 눌러 간걸 계고 시간에 찍고 전에 페버를 했어. 아니 배는 내가 배도 좀 많이 샬레 이제 저기 또다 산지 좀 되게 샤는 패스스. 눌러 이 누구 산지 포도 저거 눈이 패스스. 난 홀로 이제 손에 패스에다 가가 패니 가디나에 패니 야 길슈 아니 세대체 샬라페니 샬라베를 좀 되게 치어서 모아서 아니 거도 가가래야 디나를 유저보다 다리 진행이 미상말라 대보 통화체 남는 거 가실 다시 몇 고마토 가실 아니 년도 고마 산지라 단계 고마 산지를 유슈도 어디를 토가 정을 해서
And in the end came the Buddha Shakyamuni, surrounded by his retinue. They traveled atop the clouds and were flanked by Indra and Brahma. And in the center of the retinue with the Buddha Shakyamuni was Ananda. And there too were the gods of the desire realms, each atop their own cloud. And so they descended upon the palace of the Tirthika in this way, and the palace was prepared and resplendent, and each direction had its door. So there were four doors in the four directions. And the Buddha and his retinue arrived identically from each of the four directions at each of the four doors. And so those at the palace at the eastern door were met with the Buddha and the retinue arriving there from the east, while at the same time at the northern door Those at the northern door were met with the Buddha and retinue arriving from the direction of the north. And the same from the south. Those at the south door met with the Buddha and retinue arriving from the south. They arrived identically from all four directions and came inside and spoke spoke truth inside the palace, the true Dharma that, when heard, transformed the minds of the listeners, of some in attendance, in such a way that they achieved the path of seeing. Others became arhats, became pratyeka Buddhas, Shravaka Buddhas, and stream enterers.
예, 다들 범규기 가르치는 쇼가 나타나 아주 소신 체험 전주다 봐. 근데 어디도 보면 망가다 사목에 안에 산제 배 장조는 보조 보도록 배 있단 말이야. 난갈 자샤를 나시 전에 주류고 또 배 당하나도 돼. 자표를 나시지도 스피드 아니 불안하쇼 최송하러 어디 나시 전에 안한조 소신 체험 장도 아니 배 나가는 쪽에 주류고 또 배워 어디든지 미과 치고요. 어디지 쉬고 해서
Why the story here of the invitation of the Buddha Shakyamuni by Magadha Bhadri from North India to the south, which describes this flight of the Buddha and retinue as though they were birds from the north of India to the south, in which they arrive in South India at the temple of the Tirthikas and enter the temple. And in the temple, the Buddha Dharma truth is taught. But for, that is, why the story but for? To indicate that same wise, in the same way, visualize the invitation of the wisdom being into the commitment beings in the merit field. Through the same magical arrival, they descend and enter in the merit field.
민고치만 빼서도 들려서 다 민고치 고야 이제도 가르스나 다 소신들도 다 단답하게 소신들로 가르스나 당도 소신 깨야 돼. 담보 탐지서 뭐지 이시서 뭐지 땡겨서 뭐지 대사 대주 강가 소신들 거기 소식이 속이 신기 깨야겠다. 거기 이시서 뭐서 또 제타 탐지서 뭐 같은 거로 대치돌라 아니 소신 남기 두간에 왜세 뭐 쳐. 이제 세당하나 소바들 봐트네. 아니 초주 산지 탐지가 소신 탐지고 소신 빼 타입은 장가도 빼들에 야무도 앞에 자치부 망보 오 된지 빼 타입을 수 된지 수 된지 쉬니 아니 탐지 선발을 맞게 맞지 탐지 이시 선발을 두 패는 탐지 선발을 맞 쉬고 그래 삼당 걸 어디지를 쉬고 해서
But the object of the visualization applied to the merit field is of light radiating from the commitment beings' hearts and radiating in every direction. For our concern is with these commitment beings, into which the wisdom beings are invited, and with the samadhi being too, the concentration being. And the wisdom being is invited and dissolves into the commitment being. So as this occurs, from the heart of the commitment beings, radiating in all directions, goes light, pervading all boundless, innumerable, uncountable merit fields of space surrounding, and the light is inviting, and as it withdraws again into the heart center of the commitment beings, it's withdrawing in the invitation and arrival of the wisdom beings that arrive.
오히려 간다 소신 어디 들고 산제 레레군에 배 소신 타입은 뭐 제한타죠 되게가 소도 소다되게 소수 세답요 소신들라 때문에 아니 소신 차상을 집에 세야 오스탑 투가 뭐 직세 오야 다 되게 소신 될 양배와 양조건 말미고 건네가 소신 다던 뭐 팀샤죠 소신 될 라냐야 왜 뭐고 봐 트레 아니 왜 타입을 저 산제 좀 탐지 바트르와 바트르는 소식이 파르르라냐 바 소식 차랑을 때문에 미국과 쳐버려서 저 차서
저 아니 사르니
말다 뭐 이게 소식 되게 되게 자외가 소식식 셋다며 와 딜러 소식 차상와 직수해 차상와 되게 양배 마고 바트르니 파망고 쩌네 소신 차상와 레레레레 소신이 파망고 요로 타 강갈래야 소신 차상와 레레레 때문에 강가 소신 빼 소신이나 이게 타 강갈래야 강갈 소신 차상을 레 때문에 두고 그래서
Each person of the Buddha in the merit field contains within them innumerable merit fields. This is conceived of in the visualization as from each and every commitment being, light radiates in every direction, meeting with the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas in every direction, and the light returns to each and every one of the persons of the merit field, and the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas in the merit field descend and dissolve into each and every one of the individuals, the persons of the merit field, so that entire and complete in each and every person of the merit field is the entirety and completeness of the merit field itself, each and every one.
소신 거라 한번 소신 세 답에 호랑 산제 탐지지 뭐 이마 삼을 제도에 직 얘나는 소신을 하래양 소협내 군주지 뭐 이마 메투야 어딘데 미국 지난 선배니 저 셰어로 세다디 맞추고 저거래 직제 다디 데데 치고야 돼 괜찮다고 가리어랬으나 아니 소신이 하도 졸라야 지 상얘기 남도 마중야 치하고나 소신이 하도 졸 가시 배 상황도 가시 시험받을 때 남도 마중야 간다라 다 되게 강한 팀이야 미국 제 직제 다 이버들라 제만 알아도 지부 소신이 또 공부할 때네 땡이지 불러 기게 땡이지 불러 기도 땡이지 딜라 제 누바 타이바 심지 탐지기 된 루트야 땡이지 불러 기야게 되게 주주야게 제도라 아니 비고 되게 지기 어려서
지금 넘버지 아니 뭐 책다 아니 연전 군두기
자 군주지 뭐
나라니인다
레니마다 당고도 소신 아마 거나 때문에 군주 뭐 다투어지 다들 이번에 소신이 파르레니야 때문에 군주지 뭐 다투어 뭐야 이 친구도 소신 집어보나 봐 다들 하들래야 소신 사나를 때문에 파르레야 때문에 군주지 뭐 이봐 소신이 잠깐만 그 요거만 더 간다고 간다 뭐 지기 봐 전투야지 그때 공부해야 되다 소신을 상의가 남도 미중하다 하지만 자 조신 공부 제국이 끼어도 땡이지 누가 타면 뭐야 위치도 해서
The merit field has been visualized in its entirety and completely, and then the technique of radiating light, withdrawn again, inviting the wisdom beings, is for the purpose of reinforcing the awareness that each person in the merit field shares in the very same essence of all the Buddhas, that there is no difference between them. And furthermore, that within each individual, rather within each person of the merit field, all the qualities of the Buddhas are present, such that each person is the collection of all perfect refuges in one, each and every one, as each and every one contains the entirety of the merit field. So don't allow yourself any confusion regarding this. And then two, the purpose of this technique too is to eliminate any misunderstanding that might lead a person to think that among all of the arranged persons in the merit field, some are worthier than others, or some are superior than others, or that there is a difference in their purity. It isn't so. They all share in this very same essence and are the collection of all perfect refuges, each and every one. So that's one purpose. The other purpose is to, as this visualization is cause for what will be the result, that is the achievement of samadhi. And with samadhi, all of the aptitude and talent for actualizing the benefit of sentient beings. The extensiveness of the visualization here is for the purpose of the result, samadhi, being endowed with the talent and aptitude for carrying out the well-being of sentient beings.
Yes.
Well, that did it. Excuse me, one more.
Oh, yeah, that is it. That is about that. I eat on the Carson. We go Mango Chile, and forget Tabdi Semba. Ishi Semba to Jeda, Tabdi Semba, Timbachi, or was it Tibu Sambatadi? You take Timiati, not chocolate at the day in it. Any taking on the pocket to Jel, Subana, Jan Tansani, any Kushuni Bus and Chola, Kushuni, but she was at the Sudan market, that Yaman the Java. 제가 딸아니면 자호 범호 쓰도 오야 자 자호 범호 쓰도 다다 자 쓰도 좀 아니 담지선바도 수 대지슈 담지선바도 간수 뭐 미가 미샤오나시 미가 미 자제도 자제오나시 자 쓰도 지간 지가 되게 자자 자 아니 풍우스도 아니 마 지지 자도 마 지지로 마 때문에 하고 자 풍우스도 마 때문에 다디네 범스리 팀산에 코니 바이 같이 하면 찍어차 예면 서로 범 포스도 좀 아니 템버 쳐봐 되게 나주 템버 예면 버때 앞에 요아진 거 템버 쓰거라 뒤쳐버는 자범 포스 어디 찍기 되지 저거래서
The multiplicity of objects in the visualization is for talent in the result of samadhi, being for carrying out well-being of sentient beings. And there are multiplicity of objects in the visualization, the commitment beings and the wisdom beings. And the wisdom beings are invited to descend and dissolve into the commitment beings. And as they dissolve into the commitment beings, they dissolve in a way that is in the practice of the ritual mantrayana and involves the utterance of za, hum, bam, ho. The syllable za is the syllable invitation. The wisdom being arrives at the commitment being And as things are stacked one atop the next, the wisdom being is stacked atop the commitment being through the syllable za. Hum is a syllable of the dissolving of that stacked wisdom being into the commitment being beneath it. Dissolved in the syllable, through the syllable hum. Bam is the syllable of the indivisibility of the now indivisibility of wisdom being and commitment being, as the wisdom being has dissolved into the commitment being. And then ho fastens the dissolved wisdom being into that commitment being and is the syllable of the fastening firm together.
that's the Gushu Jini, the Chesa, Gushu Jizima, Chigila Tim Dandi, Tatanda Toto, Tamzi Sembati, Tamzi Sembata, Ishi Semba Suchenda, Tamzi Semba Galaya, Tamzi Sembalana, Gushu Jini, Martin Yemenche, Timber Cheneta, Karjota, the shooting of the Shutama Chanda Spetarwa, Takarishos Dani, that true shed Lego Reson, true lessons. Geganata, that true children. But so 지난 트위치에 said 아니 소신 코로나야 직하게 집에 다야 아니 집에 쏘고 차야 집에 다세 되게 타니 요 말에서 이나양 가르쳐 저거에서는 랑기 루이지 룽아 예수님 거는 사바 디바다 집에 되게 다야 답에 치도라 아니 소신을 트위치에 봐서 송기 열에서
The four syllables then draw in, dissolve, fasten the wisdom being and the commitment being. And so when this has happened, when wisdom being has been invited, arrived, dissolved into, has become indivisible from, and entirely fastened in the commitment being, then in the merit field, the practice of bathing the merit field begins. And bathing for us entails removing impurities and washing dirt away and the like. But here in bathing the merit field, there are no impurities to remove. Rather, the bathing of the merit field is for the purpose of removal and expiation of our own negativities of body, speech, and mind.
Boy, that another true chess another chess, Choga Karitan and a true Chigiors, who is that to show Tang in it, and Choga Chenmo Tang in it, the Ramne Cheva in it, and the true Chigor, come out to switch here and Chuba.
Now, in all ritual practices, whatever it may be, practice of Tara, practice of consecration, big mantrayana practices, whatever the practice, you will find the practice of bathing and the bathing house present in each and all of these rituals.
Oh, yeah, that can be true. You do that to one's cake or to one tree, on super to one's or that to one cake. And to one get on your that to one get on the ring with the Kashi or is. In that the Lamrim look to one get dance or the district your is. Said the Lamrim look to what was you do the more cousin of the Junju on shape that's the your is. I got the two on the line, come back to Koshi. Oh, Meba. Nandu the Bucci, Kashi, the Jabita, Jabice, and he told to Mudi Larice. And it key to Trugangi, that Simbuta. Or the Sashi that said that Chama dollars about the lake Chevata, Konanga, Michimu, true just so they go to one the Hollywood said. Mawu, Kutuye, Mawu, Mujimamu Jagger, or Tina, she is sometime care or response.
In bathing, there have to be bathing facilities, a bathhouse, And so for bathing merit field 2, there's a bathing house, a bath house, and it may be produced following various techniques for visualizing it. Will follow in the tradition of the Anuttara Tantras, the highest unexcelled Tantras. And in fact, this resembles just how the bathing house is described in the Bodhicharya Avatara, the way of the Bodhisattva. What it entails is resplendence inside, pearls and jewels, crystal pillars, 4, everywhere inlaid with gold and silver. The objective is for the bathing house to be just as a wealthy person's bathroom will be beautiful and have all that one needs. In the same way that pearls and jewels, and it is finely decorated. The verse for visualizing the merit field is in an exquisitely fragrant bathhouse with an inlaid floor of brightly shining crystal. There are dazzling columns aglitter with jewels and a canopy festooned with shimmering pearls. So this is the bathhouse then, and it is of unrivaled material quality, and just as a wealthy person, a king, will have an extraordinary bathroom, it will be large and open, filled with decorations. In the same way, this bathhouse will be resplendent with decoration, bejeweled, vast, open.
아니 다들 배자 코로나 시다 제바에는 아니 길어야 돼서 보죠 탈만 추도 막 심사야고 요바 되게 되게 숨여래서 그렇지.
The kila is technique. For those of you who have encountered the presentation of the bathing house in the Bodhicharya Avatara, the way of the Bodhisattva, you've been exposed to how it is to be produced in all of its extravagance and and luxuriousness. It is open, and in the center, everything in the bathing house is of the finest quality. Any of the implements found in the bathing house, all of the implements of the bathing house will be made of gold and silver and valuables, pearl and the rest. And as the Bodhicharya Avatara describes too, the floor of the bathing house is slightly elevated at the center, lower along the perimeter, like the shell of a tortoise.
Oh yeah, but that is huge to show service. Any talking could get a teach board, be a single tea, or dear human Changman Boyova. And it chose sooner, but do my Yaman Tasa, Babzat, the Kansas, Rumashi Yoba, or the Dukan removing Mudi Tadakon Yoba, and this so that Nasa Nimba to the Shasada, Nasa Sawa, the Sawa Pia, the Nimba Pai Torel to the Shasa Yoba, or the Dekan Samutan or else.
At the Kinzati and Rimbashi Yoba, Yamanasi, Law, Kinzari and the bathing house needs a seat. The seat is a lion throne. It isn't one lion throne, there are countless lion thrones. And and in the bathing house too are stairways with 4 rungs up and down for movement about the bathing house, and also fine receptacles for the old worn vestments, and receptacles too with the fresh unworn vestments for the wearing of the individuals there.
Oh yeah, that the NASA Sabbath 아니 지금 추이제하기다 추 공주다 아니 추시고는 소바도 누가가 유제 차단 아니 끼어버려 해서
Along with all of this, basins for washing and the rest must be visualized.
어 추이다 내 자신 되듯음도 어디 주간 기도도 뭐 미국 지하 가시죠. 이게 다 들어자만 주기 싫어. 망고리스도 야 되듯도 하고 봐.
Now times
하다다 거기 주간 계약이 주간의 수주가 다니가 하나도 다 주간 가서 고양고 야채 뭐 디나라다 주간의 여제 가리는 되게 수주 미국 가서 쪼쪼 다 제고 삼다 드레스 들이 대샤기 손을
Now time's just about up, and there remains more to be described for the visualization of the bathing house. So this will have to wait until next week. I encourage you to visualize the bathhouse complete with all of these sundry implements which are made of the finest materials. All that you may contain within the bathing house as you visualize it, strive to visualize in accordance with just that, so that your visualization may be multifaceted this way, so that the visualization may be complete and multifaceted this way.
Oh, you mother this your kids to go and it's massive to carry them and George and business self or useful.
Now, if there are any questions now, if there's anything that is unclear to you still, I hope that in our Q&A we can resolve some of those doubts or remaining questions.
Yeah.
Please review again when wisdom body comes to committed bodies, how the 4 syllables function.
그래서 네 양자를 켜르도 나를 제디 안에 dire 그래서 당시 셈바데 안에 말 예시 셈바데 말 템당데 템베 갑라 제 자홈 방호기 안에 페네 야메나 자홈 방호기 데베 데당 야메나티 페네 가능시레스 자
뭐다 가다가 담직 셈바지 여러와 담직 셈바디 이시 셈바다 아주 뒤로 수부죠 그다음에 밀수 빼지 않으려나 아주 수부 셈수 깨단 수부는 주안은 거기 미 차상 소어로 와 어디나 신진이 아니 초신들이 강가라 아니 거기 담직 셈바 소리 아니 다들 난가를 쉬고 대기 빼 접수 공부 원래 요되게 수제장 아니 다들 초신 다들 깨되게 맞팀 다들 깨되게 되게 빼다 간다 빼 접수 공부 원래 깨투야 시도라 뉴버도 무슨 맞제 계절 해서 없지 그거듯이 아니 제일 측리가 측가서 자홍 범호 측시도 어디레스 어디 봐서
there's the commitment being, right? And the commitment being is, as it were, the person, the body of a person, and the body of the person before it's animated by a consciousness, by consciousness arising in the body of the person. Then the consciousness animates the body of the person. So likewise, we have the commitment beings in space, arranged as they are. They are to be the essence of the Buddhas and the collection of all perfect refuges. That they do become so. The wisdom being descends and dissolves into the commitment being, and we utter these syllables za hum bam ho.
거기 자홍 방이 수자마다 자 수자마 담지 셈바디 이뭐 이시 셈바디 담지 셈바가 수있어 근데 몇 개잖아 아 강leg을 와 아니 자 무수자마 디마 술래교들랑 루나 셈다 거기 담지 셈바디 이시 셈바나 마팀 그래서 팀이 다자홍밤 수자마 아 코니페 냠도 바 데네 추지나 지루는 데르고 와 어떤 시바 데비는 것이 자 홍밤 포스디 아니 거 거두이는 거이 체험해 봐 지랑 통주를 찍모도 이群的 체험해 봐 참 어디 리는 것이 알아서
아드니디 템포조에로아니 호 세르디 삼라디 템포조야 템바 제바
아뭐 찍바체
라
아니지만 띵바체
라 커커지바 여기가 되버도 되네
아뭐 찍는 그 담지 삼바 초디시 담지 삼바디 이시 삼바 가는 초 미자원 제 들어간데 자스라고 홍수도 막 찍찍지도 막 팀로지 아니 팀이 아니 팀 서도 잡고니 예매도 쳐봤어
라라
아서 예매도 세상에 아니 거기 때만 쳐봤어
라라
어디 고슈진이 있어 어디를
and the syllables za hum bam ho are uttered, and za, when za is uttered, the wisdom being stacks atop the commitment being. It has arrived and is now stacked atop the commitment being. Hum is uttered, and the wisdom being is dissolved into the commitment being. Bam is uttered, and the two become indissolubly, indivisibly one as water mixed into water. And ho is uttered, and the two are firmly fixed.
차제치는 미국의 차제치는 나오면 자 파지
자
아무 자세
자
니들 마시라고 조금 니들하고 찍고
let's add on.
자세
자
홍세 아니 밤스ski 자 파지 자 파지 자 어때 차이 나오지
the mudra goes this way. The right hand index finger on the left hand pinky finger. Za. Za. Hum goes left index finger, right pinky. Bam.
밤스라고 세시처럼
And then ho. And then ho is this way. The right hand is on the outside.
Yeah. Za. Bam.
Za.
Bam. So
if you do the mudra, that's the way.
Yeah, I'm
Any others?
I was actually gonna ask about the mudra because I remember learning it from somebody. I didn't know if that was really different. But my question is, in the story, when Buddha arrived at the palace and he entered through all the 4 doors. I was just wondering, I guess this is more of a modern day question. It sounded like kind of like, because it's simultaneously entering all the 4 doors, and if so, I don't know, I think like in my imagination and visualizing that, like, was that kind of like using a tesseract kind of thing to arrive there?
맞아, 네. ja, dus die Charlie toen die die moment is Johnny, de is die sommige dus dat de magada barri magada zamoligi bomadi dat het over die maar en die hojo la en den shudu en die tik bewadi 말이다. 아니 그래 진짜네 아니 다트 tombe 아니 전두 아니 샤르초네 니 점바다 아니 누브초네 점바 뒤치 그래 뒤치 그래 아니 뒤치 얘나 간지스 뭐라고
어였다 땡기지 이거 생긴데라 디어 말스 타이어 말스 땡기 다다 가서 취시 망고 셰대야 보라 땡기지 이거 제 줘야 저는 누가 되게 열세 전다 디지털 세계 열어와. 또 좀더 보라 땡겨지기 또 그. 도시가 위치 아니 미 거기 뒤져주고 또 줄이 땡겨가 땡겨진 줄이 땡겨. 초 시간에 찍고 찍냥 주주 찍어. 아니 패버려. 그래서만 미주겠다. 좀더 코도다 보라도 미주 가져와서 가져 잘 폈어. 코도도 그때 제가 수주 코도 좀더 주주 또 코도려야 대박게 주고 거라서 디지털 땡기는 또 주주직을 찍고 직장 제 나로 패는 고도 쓰던 식으로 제가 이제 시도치 아니 뭐 최소 아니 고도가 제가 컨트롤 때 주주직 또 컨트롤 대박 숙성을 깨어야다 최 숙성을 보고 아니 송월 때는 컨트롤 땡기지 게 오늘 가시 사바세바 또 가시 가져봐 또 가시 내가 좀 거와 어떤 중화를 했어. 그다음 뒤집도 중화를 했어. 어디 땡겨진 게 여러 톱잖아. 아니 내가 말 세요 말했어. 어떤 다 디시엔지 그래서
yes simultaneously at the very same moment from the four directions the Buddha arrived. Such is the reality of possibility for an individual who has achieved samadhi. The Buddha has achieved consummate samadhi. So there is no limitation imposed by a notion of this and that, this preventing that, and so on. So simultaneously, the Buddha Shakyamuni arrives at the four doors at the very same time. It is a magical display. It is a magical display in which at the very same moment, the Buddha Shakyamuni arrives at the four doors, and each person at one of the four doors is met with the Buddha arriving from that door, while simultaneously the Buddha arrives at all four doors at the very same moment. Exactly. And then arriving at the very same moment at each of the four doors, the Buddha enters, and the feast that was prepared for the Buddha is given to the Buddha, and by the force of the astounding force of the Buddha's arrival from the four directions simultaneously, those receiving him at the palace are primed, their faith is primed to be receptive to the Dharma, and so the Buddha is able to teach the profound true Dharma to them, and they are receptive in such a way that they achieve arhatship and stream winning and the rest. And so it is with the achievement of samadhi that limits this preventing that are surpassed. Then there's a question. Okay, there's three here. Three questions up. Yeah. So our friend can ask, but that's both of you. So who?
Yeah.
I have a question about the samadhi. Chenmo was saying last week that the wisdom meeting was not necessary for samadhi. But you mentioned that the wisdom meeting has wisdom, love, and power. So in samadhi, then, like in the jhana, one through samadhi, one can get insight, whether it's gloomy, whether it's kensho, whether it's agreement, or so. If this is the case, then if one has samadhi, then one can achieve wisdom and love. So that would be wisdom and compassion. What is the notion of power? You mentioned that there was wisdom, love, and power, because with wisdom and love are power, so that was not necessary. And then that other aspect where they're here in the teachings and they achieve our share of human. What was it that Tsongkhapa saw in Buddha Palita's 18th chapter that gave him insight? And was it through samadhi or just hearing in the same way that that people in South India heard the teaching of Buddha at that transformation, was it some meeting to what Buddha taught, or was there some other process that occurred because there's so many different states of samadhi?
Oh yeah. Also, the woman Yeshiki didn't somebody. The Yeshiki somebody Inji Minji didn't in issue go with Mare. You know, and the Yeshi somebody la and the king say new sum the Yobares. Then Nigasumbrua, then Inji Minji and the didn't shoe go with Mare. And they take on Laya. And the Yeshi somebody la and the king say new sum the Yobares somewhere. That then the thing is in Yaman chicken and something Napa. Something other than the layer.
Something other.
The Yaban of the Garada.
Something she got.
She didn't think on the Ale, Yamsha, country shore.
Something she is.
She said this is the hop. But yes, that then something design Jang Zambala and the Jangdu and the Satovia, Satovia, and Gunshu, and the Tovia Young Yoroa. You're all did it. The Yobache. Certainly, sang up the unit, they didn't so something the Jang Zambala and the Satovia Yore and Gunshu Tovia Yore last one. Just the and the Yeshi Samba and the Kinsey Newsum Yobache. Thing is in Tobne and the Kinsey Newsum and the Tobache. That Kimba Yona and it's Sewa Yoba Tal. That then any Kimba down Sewa the Yona, the nobody Yoba, just on Karachin and Sunga the Jungle Yago. It's a Cartman dog Kashidwa. Teaching down the Yeshi somebody intimated in the Shumagoa. Then it low. Then it did in the Sum Yoba.
You should send it down, send it, take the down, and send it in the Chomares.
The
60 the Chomares. That's not so the never unit, didn't Sanjay Yoba, Shushu was in the Gender Madonna Yams or the Sanjay Shu Yorwa. Tibachene, Matan Slavas, Masaswa, or Diba Samasa.
So first, regarding the invitation of the wisdom being. An invitation of the wisdom being hasn't got to necessarily be performed because, as I said, wherever for a person there is the conception of the presence of the Buddha, the faith in the presence of the Buddha is present there and doesn't require the invitation of any wisdom being. The Buddha's present regardless. So my first point.
Like you but Kinsey Newsum said, Kinsey Newsum said, Sanjay, you sum the Yorta, Kimbe, you did 7, you did the sum Yor. Also, that Kimbe, you did career, is she true? So, Ani Kimbe, the 7, you did the Yorta, Niji Mudora, Tuji Mudora, also. Ani Nube, you did, Simje, Tamje, like Chanyon Buggy. Ani other Kyoktuya, Nubazorwa, what's the children you did, you're Kusum to you, did some yore. Any Ubi, you know, Sungi, you ever Sungi, what chicken, Sanji Yula, Chabar Yoba, Yinea, Kurang, Yundegi, 장가기 전에 이제 매저 숨 열어서 고숨 두리에 숨 긴진도 주고 이제 숨 어디
알레레젤라 연된 숨숨
아
킨 아니 켐발라니 연된 숨숨
참벌에 알레 파 맞아 거의 저 토르
라스라스
아주 산지 코로나 연대기 제시로 잖아 그걸 캠베이 되어 제외이 되어 레베이 되어 장가기 여러 그래서 이 예단 숨 장을 했어 어디 지금
Wisdom, love, and power as enumerated qualities of the Buddha are just that, enumerated qualities of the Buddha. And it is so that the wisdom, love, and power of the Buddha is in the wisdom of the Buddha, the wisdom truth body. In the love of the Buddha, Mahakaruna, great compassion. In the power of the Buddha, the power to equally ensure protection for every sentient being. So these are qualities of body, speech, and mind enumerated. Of course, where the Buddha's mind is present, of course, where the Buddha's present in form, the Buddha's speech is present, the Buddha's mind is present. These are all present. We have here enumerated in the wisdom, love, and power qualities of the Buddha. They are enumerations of qualities of the Buddha.
아니 땡땡진다 아니 다가도 담지선 지금 뭐 주주나 다리 열었으나 나도 싸나봐도 산데 사투보다 세도 심지기 주기 땡땡진라 참치 좀 말아 누버치 좀 슉치 좀 말아 하고 산지기 주기 땡땡진들라 누버 탈치 말 제가 그 누버 충화도 치워서 이가 말했어 어디를 쳐버려 열었어 이렇게 하는 그거도 디나 주면서 좀 도수
장주 승기사
장주 세백 사가 사마 지고 장주 세백 사도 땡땡진라 누버치를 슉 똑치를 열었어 산지기 주기 땡땡진라 똑치를 누버치를 이렇게 쳐버려 말했어
Regarding samadhi, bodhisattvas on the fifth ground and sixth ground, bodhisattvas on the fifth bhumi and sixth bhumi. Between these bhumis, there is difference in the force of the samadhi of the individual, force of the samadhi with object of their samadhi being sentient beings. There is no incomplete samadhi with object of sentient beings for a Buddha. This object of the Buddha's samadhi, sentient beings, is for a Buddha entirely consummated. So for these bodhisattvas on fifth ground, sixth ground, and other grounds, there's a difference in the intensity and the intensity of the samadhi with its object of sentient beings. No such difference. It's fully consummated, entirely completed samadhi for a Buddha.
I have a question about the elaborate visualizations of the bathhouse, and in terms of the practitioner, how is it beneficial or conducive towards like the six perfections? If Keshe-ba could elaborate.
냠는 체킹 기차네 파르신 쭉 냠는 체라 간지스 핑게리 간지스 미바땡게리
거제도 냠는 율을 로그를 써 좋아서 초반기에도 땅에서 지나 초반기에 거야다 수업도 냠는 주치 거야 소 내가 또 가리었으나 말한 줄로 와 거기 추식을 시 소신은 그게 다야당 또 이야기 계속 요 말했어. 이제서와 가르치고서는 랑이 귤을 이모 되게 오늘 바자 이게 되는 다 그거 그 다야가 된다가 아니 소신을 추이체벌 때네 아니 소신 예벌 좀 예배 되는 랑이 귤을 대화 깨봐 아니 동의 시워치하게 합치 여러 개 어디 때문에 지금 해서
The practice of bathing, of producing a bathhouse, is for and taking the basis for that which is to be bathed as that which is to be bathed as the merit field itself. The merit field having no defilements or uncleanliness to be washed away at all anyway, but taken as the basis for the purpose of eliminating one's own defilements and stains in one's own mind. As that is the point of the practice of washing and of generating the bathhouse, these practices become cause for the practice of the 6 perfections. They become cause for the development of a contentment for the person and the eradication of suffering for that person.
먼저 다 거야 이거다 집안이 있어. 그래서 어디 다야 추이체도 추이들 제대로 düzüde senior. düzüde senior 아니 추 다발 때는 먼저 줄라 이봐 유모 대바티당 대사를 지고 동행이가 다바치야 이바치야 지요레스 내가 뒤 다고 미바티나와 아니 다 거기 셔라비 자네 이거 다봐 아니 버진 당분하게 되는 집어 다봐 되네 버진 타마 셔라고 버진 도게 아니 이거 다봐 어디 이거 셔 뜻이다 그래서 신바시면 나 요래서
Look, and sort of gula nyomongdang
이거다 집어니라
debadan jibanira.
이모체
No.
집어서 디 잡을 봐자 이모들이 동해 지어와
동아지.
동해다 바자다 동해 그거 샤죠
No.
그래서 이를 추제들었다 요즘 아주 그거 부박 추지들 부박 추야다 제주 추다 요즘도 세니가 돈 추야 되요 디나시미 버시는 양 진도 양면 차상 되나 제 요래서
And the purification, the bathing is for purifying from one's own mind, expiating from one's own mind, non-virtues and obstructions. These are removed through the bathing, and one bathes as one removes these. They may be removed through nectar and light. Like water is used to wash, nectar and light here are used to wash, to bathe. In the mind are mental afflictions and the latent karmas of suffering. These mental afflictions and latent karmas for suffering are eliminated. And their elimination through the first 5 perfections is the elimination of the obstructions.
집어다 집어서 딱 이제 그다음에 집안일 잡아이나 집안일 자기네 잘해요. 나는 집안일 잘해요 말다. 그다음에 균일 잘. 그래서 균유모다 되게 잘 제고 가자. 진일 잘 해서 이제 균유모다 제고 가자를 샤요. 야 집안일 잘해 잘해요. 야 쌤기 집어다 류기 집어를 잘해 잘해요. 어디 수도 미고치도 갈때 잘해.
나 드네 그래서 네 파르신 족파디
유모도 다 보지.
녀몽이다.
이모도 매번 세리 싫어 버리신 적으로 와.
나도.
이 자기 나만 나올 되게 아니 이모도 저 바자 다 받지 않을 되겠어.
Listen. The first 5%. Now, in an explanation of incorporating the 6 perfections here, or how they are involved, one may do that through description of or classification of that which is to be eliminated in terms of the obscurations to omniscience and mental afflictions. But I'm choosing not to do that here. Instead, that which is to be eliminated here for our purposes are mental afflictions and karmic latencies of suffering. Now, the karmic latencies of suffering result from the mental afflictions, but these karmic latencies of suffering are that which is purified through the first 5 perfections. The 6th perfection eliminates the mental afflictions. Now, there are other ways to involve the 6 perfections in the bathing practice. One may speak of impurities or defilements that are physical, rather physical and outward, or mental and inward. There are various ways one may involve them.
This may be too much, but so in thinking about the levers of practice, is this a different mode of purification, but are they similar, or is it different motivation and effect?
그래서 이게 이제 그래가 그래 자 이게 그래 이게 아니 냠는체 여러 한이 도시 그래서 도시선배는 냠는체 이야 여러 아니 다 얘기 탑람직 여러 대다 아니 추칸 계제 아니 추소 제어디 아니 자기를 맨다를
this 말았어. 중앙에 될라 그 미국치다가 고바트즈 미타레스 어서 그래서 이내 미국치듯이 미국치다는 때에 차송과 연구를 와 차송과 연구를 다 간단하게 도도를 세 권이라에 디바트 고바트 이제 찍어요 중앙에 대가랑이 유모 답이 들어와 아니 도지선배 감지 저 미국이 아니 디바트 하게 딱 시작한 지단으로 디스 빌더요 그래서 도시 선박이 냠내 지도 선박 아니 디고 폐가 제와다 와 되게 망체 냠내 지도 디고 야마페 지도 냠내 제 직제 아니 디고 다 샤비지도 유바와 어디다 투마케야디 라기 류지 제바다 나기 제바다 마 나지 추니 답을 미고치다 때에 쳐버려 요레스 이내야 차순바야만 뭐 요레스 오지
자선바에
맨날 아주 디바 다야지 디바라 도지선배 냠되잖아요 태어나 거를 때는 디르마랑 르르르르르 남바샤네 디바 다와 재미고 여러 아니 저도 좋아할 때가 미고 제요
승바데데 네 승부티티 아니 루마 네심 한사마다 그러다 그래 네오 다버레양 승부로
도시 선발로 폐가 제죠
라라
그거 야 폐마다 또 시아바 제요
라라
그래서 미국 지난 개발 때요
맞습니다.
아니 그간데라데 미국지 고 디버 다베 미국지 버마다 폐가 제요 이렇게
Now they're not quite the same. The details of the visualization differ. Even the purpose differs slightly, but in short, in essence, much is the same. The purpose would be the same. For the purpose is to eliminate mental afflictions, but in the details there's some difference. The Vajrasattva practice is particularly concerned with preventing non-virtues from multiplying. So preventing the non-virtues from multiplying is the purpose of one purpose of the Vajrasattva practice, and of course then to the expiation of negativities too. But that deliberate deliberate practice of Vajrasattva to prevent the multiplying of non-virtues is the objective of one of the objectives for the Vajrasattva practice. So there are some slight differences between them in terms of the visualization and then in terms of the details of the purpose. In the bathhouse and the bathing practice, the preventing multiplying of non-virtues is not explicitly the purpose. And furthermore, the basis, that which is bathed and purified, it itself is different. Now, if there are no other questions, then we'll recite our closing verse.
rangi sabe ledi ani rangi 지금 소신을 야 지금 대바 하나 맞아 이거 다야 다 되게 이거 지야 되게 전에 아니 간다 또 그거 어디 아니 rangi 주제 또 루이지 셈이 나기 수바다 지마 아니 루이지 나가 샤베다 가자 누가가 다 받지 이거 제 되게 또 냠는 데가 레스 어디를 제가 되게 이게 아까 그 추이지 거 추이지가 있네. 그래서 그 추이 있네. 한미가 되게 제약이 이거 쟤는 되게 어렸어. 만화도 딱 간다. 쌤이 집어다를 지돌라 그래서 냠네 또세 루이지 집어다베 지돌라 아니 뒤지디. 냠네 뒤지 배장이 냠네 제 어디에서나 야부 어렸어. 이 말에는 수수 이 말에는 수고를 쪽으로 주지도 많이 미고 되게 제가 있는 편도 좀 보시라 어렸어.
The bathing practice for eliminating negative karmas, the negative stains that are physical and those that are mental, may be practiced in anywhere, anytime when you are bathing. You can practice this visualization. Each day you wash once, you bathe once, and in bathing, for purifying defilements of mind, light is used. For purifying defilements and stains to the body, nectar is used. And so one may practice this as a wash, as practice of purification.
거의 땅으로 들은지가 때 잠시 안에 말하는 거 너무 제조사 소식이 둘라 때네 근데 말하는 내가 그 루센비 동이 시와 아니 다도 에 나랑 대화 탈진 뭐 토바 아니 랑게다 데 토바다 아니 지금 랑게 시행이 동이 양도 세트가 되게 전에 아니 뭐 너를 하고 싫어지 뭐는 두기
So now we'll conclude the class by reciting our closing prayers, and by the force of the merit field, may the pains and sufferings, physical and mental, experienced by all sentient beings be pacified, and may all sentient beings come to know the ultimate state of contentment, so that this may occur. May we dedicate the force of our virtue to the final elimination, thorough elimination of all discontents that all others are experiencing.
Lome mari lon roa nande gave ombusu tayu ema sunbe zera kundu ya jambe ya ye sewe jeso tembe remba kusan lamji cho nyene rupe jena so ragi shijin dobe lamji ni chura sewe chabe tagiri Roe iji maba seche ne jave temba yore zenjochi. Temba rinjin chodi ma java jabya nyamba yube chode. Nije chenbu yirab jewa yi tende teje sewa jeba sho. Teje gawe mejun chile de lekru janju lamgi rinpe kyang. Padu namji yila pede jin jawe tsepa rindu kyang. Lamsan lube tungin luje jin gyagin seje medang mende. Tela kundu jawe mabayi namda namda tewa makirchi. Kanse teba jola tuje jo tsujin bula tumba tse. Tuden namje tadu roche jin dashi jato chukun jaju chi.
From my two collections, vast and space that I have amassed from working with effort at this practice for a great length of time, may I become completely for all those whose minds to wisdom I have blinded by ignorance. Even if I do not reach this state, may I be held in loving compassion for all my lives, my virtue. May I find the best of the past, the complete teachings, and may I please all others by practicing. Using skillful means drawn by the strong force of compassion, may I clear the darkness from the minds of all beings with the points of the path as I have discerned them. May I hold with his teachings for a very long time. With my heart going out with great compassion, in whatever direction the most precious teachings have not yet spread or once spread have declined, may I offer this treasure of happiness to aid all sentient beings. May the minds of those who wish for liberation be granted bounteous peace, and the Buddha's deeds be nourished for a long time by following the complete gradual path to enlightenment and the wondrous virtuous conduct of the Buddhas and their sons. May all human and non-human beings that eliminate adversity and make things conducive for practicing the excellent paths never be parted in any of their lives from the pure teachings of the Buddhas. Whenever someone makes effort to act in accordance with the tenfold Mahayana virtuous practice, may he always be assisted by the mighty ones, and may oceans of prosperity spread.
Dagi chini sabe gewa di tenan ro Yagara jedu losa chapai Tebe nimbo rindu se Kane lawe gowe shimpade Kendade wa malu chumwe Chere sewa tinzi jaso ye Shabe sidi badre tengere Jambe bo chetar chenpo ta Gundu sampu teyan deshin Dida tanje rangdu mo Tuzun jebe genwa tanje ge Oma kangla chodo maba de Dagi gewe tsawa digu kyang Sampo cheje rangdu mo bari I give one chick, give one I dedicate whatever virtues I have ever collected for the benefit of the teachings and of sentient beings, and in particular for the essential teachings, the venerable Lotan Drapa to shine forever. In the land encircled by snowy mountains, you are the source of all happiness and good. All powerful, significant, sensing, please remain in just as the great Manjushri and Samantabhadra realize things as they are, also I dedicate all these merits as the best way, that I may follow their perfect example. I dedicate all these roots of virtue, with the dedication praised as the best, by the victorious bound ones of the 3 times, so that I might perform the noble duty sometimes. May the supreme jewel of Bodhicitta that has not arisen or rise to prove, may that which has risen not diminish, but increase more and more. Thank you. 말이